You grab that orange juice every morning thinking you're doing something good for your body. Fresh vitamin C, natural sugars, better than soda, right? Maybe you even splurge on the expensive cold-pressed stuff. What if I told you that healthy morning ritual might be slowly stealing your sight? This is Health SOS. Real people, real warnings. In America, 50% of diabetics over 50 develop diabetic retinopathy, and fruit juice consumption increases diabetes risk by 8% per daily serving. Today's guest is Michael, a 58-year-old insurance agent from Ohio. For 15 years, he drank 2 glasses of healthy fruit juice every day. He exercised, watched his weight, took his vitamins. But last spring, he started seeing floating black spots that wouldn't go away. Let's begin. Michael, tell me about your morning routine before all this started.
Oh man, I was so proud of myself. Every morning, like clockwork, up at 6 a.m., glass of fresh orange juice, sometimes apple juice if we were out of oranges, then whole grain toast, my multivitamin, I'd tell my wife. At least I'm not drinking soda for breakfast like some people.
How long had you been doing this?
15 years. Easy. Ever since my buddy Rick had his heart attack. I thought, I need to clean up my act. So I switched from coffee and donuts to, juice and toast. Felt like I was making a real change.
And you genuinely believed this was healthy?
Absolutely. I mean, come on, it's fruit juice. Natural sugars, vitamin C, antioxidants. My wife would buy the expensive stuff, the cold-pressed kind that costs $8 a bottle. We'd read the labels together. No sugar added. 100% pure fruit. We felt good about our choices.
This is where we need to pause. Michael isn't describing negligence. He's describing what millions of Americans do every morning. The belief that fruit juice equals health is so deeply embedded in our culture that we never question it.
Right? I'd see people drinking Coke at 8 a.m. and think, at least I'm not that guy. I was drinking what I thought was liquid health.
Walk me through a typical day beyond that morning juice.
Well, I'd have my orange juice, usually a full glass, sometimes 2 if I was really thirsty. Then, around 2 p.m., when I'd hit that afternoon wall, I'd grab another glass. Apple juice this time. Or maybe that green juice my wife started buying. Thought I was giving myself natural energy instead of reaching for candy or energy drinks.
So we're talking about 16 to 24 ounces of fruit juice daily?
At least. More on weekends when I was home. I'd make fresh smoothies too. Oranges, apples, maybe some berries. Thought I was being even healthier.
Michael, what do you think was in those 2 glasses of orange juice? In terms of sugar?
Natural sugar, fructose? I knew it wasn't sugar-free, but it's from fruit, so good sugar, right?
Here's what Michael didn't know and what most Americans don't realize. That glass of orange juice he was so proud of, it contains about 21 grams of sugar. For perspective, a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola has 39 grams. So Michael's 2 glasses of healthy juice were delivering 42 grams of sugar, more than a can of Coke, before 3 p.m. every single day.
Wait, more than a Coke? That can't be right.
The difference is speed of absorption. When you eat an orange, the fiber slows down how quickly that sugar hits your bloodstream. But juice? That's sugar without the brakes. Your blood glucose spikes just as fast as it would with soda.
But the vitamins...
1 orange gives you all the vitamin C you need for the day, plus fiber that protects you from the sugar spike. 1 glass of orange juice gives you the sugar equivalent of 4 oranges with none of the protection.
15 years, Doc. 15 years of thinking I was taking care of myself.
And during those 15 years, Michael, were there any signs? Things you maybe attributed to getting older?
Well, yeah, I'd get really thirsty in the afternoons. Thought it was just, dehydration from work. And I'd crash around 3 p.m., need that second juice to pick me up. Sometimes I'd feel shaky if I didn't eat lunch on time.
What about your family history?
My dad had diabetes, but he was overweight, didn't exercise. I was 180 pounds, ran 3 times a week. Figured I was safe.
This is crucial. Michael saw his father's diabetes as a weight problem, an exercise problem. He never connected it to what was in his glass every morning. In his mind, he was doing everything right.
Exactly, I was the healthy one in my family. Everyone said so.
Michael, looking back now, do you think your body was trying to tell you something?
Yeah, I think it was screaming at me. I just wasn't listening.
Tell me about the first time you couldn't ignore what your body was saying.
It was a Tuesday morning in March. I was driving to work, same route I'd taken for 12 years. I'm stopped at a red light, and suddenly I see these things, like tiny gnats floating in my vision, but when I tried to look at them directly, they drift away.
What did you think was happening?
Honestly, I thought maybe I needed new glasses, or that I was just tired. I've been working late, a lot of stress at the office. I actually rolled down my window thinking there were bugs on my windshield.
But they didn't go away.
Number. They followed my eyes, and over the next few days there were more of them. Little dark specks, sometimes like cobwebs. I'd blink hard, rub my eyes, nothing worked.
Were there other symptoms you were experiencing around this time?
Well, yeah, but I didn't connect them. I was getting up 3-4 times a night to use the bathroom. Thought maybe I was drinking too much water before bed, and I was constantly thirsty during the day. I'd finish a glass of juice and immediately want another one.
How did your family react when you mentioned the floaters?
My wife, Carol, was worried right away. She kept saying, "You need to see a doctor." But I kept brushing it off. "It's just age, honey. I'm 58, things start to go." She'd get frustrated with me because I was being so stubborn.
What were you afraid of?
That's the thing. I wasn't afraid, I was annoyed. Here I am, doing everything right, eating well, exercising, and my body starts acting up. It felt unfair, like I was being punished for something I didn't do.
You mentioned doing everything right. Tell me about your energy levels during this period.
Terrible. I'd have my morning juice, feel great for about an hour, then crash. By 11 a.m., I was dragging. So I'd have more juice, get that boost again, then crash harder. I thought I wasn't getting enough sleep.
Michael, what you're describing, the frequent urination, excessive thirst, fatigue, and visual disturbances, these are classic signs of uncontrolled diabetes. Your body was sending you urgent messages.
But I wasn't overweight. I wasn't eating candy bars for breakfast. I was drinking fruit juice.
That's exactly the point. Your pancreas couldn't tell the difference between the sugar in that orange juice and the sugar in a candy bar. Both were hitting your bloodstream fast and hard, multiple times a day, for 15 years.
I remember one morning I was shaving and I caught my reflection. My face looked gray, tired. Carol said I looked older, but I just thought it was work stress.
When did you finally realize something was seriously wrong?
About 2 weeks after the floaters started, I was reading the newspaper and part of the page just disappeared, like someone had draped a dark cloth over the bottom corner of my vision. I closed one eye, then the other. It was definitely there.
That must have been terrifying.
That was the moment I stopped making excuses. I called my doctor that same day, but even then I was thinking maybe it was a detached retina or something fixable. I never connected it to my diet.
What was happening inside your eyes was a direct result of years of blood sugar spikes. The tiny blood vessels in your retina were being damaged every time you drank that juice. They were leaking, bleeding, trying to repair themselves. But the damage was happening faster than they could heal.
So every morning, when I thought I was taking care of myself,
You were essentially injecting sugar directly into your bloodstream, and your eyes were paying the price.
the irony is, I felt so virtuous, so responsible. Right up until I couldn't see half the newspaper.
But Michael, what happened next is where most people make their biggest mistake.
I went into full panic mode. Started researching everything online. Eye exercises, supplements, even bought this expensive eye vitamin that promised to restore vision naturally.
And the juice?
I actually increased it. I read somewhere that vitamin C was good for eye health, so I started drinking more orange juice, added some of those green juices Carol bought. I thought I was fighting back.
So you were treating the symptoms while making the cause worse.
Exactly. For about 6 weeks, I was drinking 3, sometimes 4 glasses of juice a day. Plus, I started doing these juice cleanses on weekends. I thought I was detoxifying, healing myself naturally.
How did you feel during this period?
Awful. My energy was all over the place. I'd feel wired, then exhausted. The floaters got worse. I was getting headaches. But in my mind, it was just my body adjusting to the healthier diet.
What about your relationship with Carol?
Tense. She kept begging me to see a doctor, and I kept insisting I had it under control. Give me another month, I'd say. Let me try this natural approach first. She was scared, and I was desperate to prove I could fix myself.
This is such a common pattern. When people feel their health slipping away, especially people who pride themselves on being healthy, they often double down on what they think is working rather than questioning their assumptions.
Right. I was so convinced that juice was part of the solution, not the problem. I even joined this online forum about natural eye health. People were sharing these success stories about reversing vision problems with raw foods and juice fasting.
How long did this continue?
Until one morning I woke up and couldn't see Carol clearly. Her face was blurry, like looking through frosted glass. That's when I finally agreed to see our family doctor.
And what did your blood work show?
My blood sugar was 287. Normal is under 100. My A1C was 8.2. The doctor took one look at the numbers and said, "Michael, you've had diabetes for years. We need to get you to an eye specialist immediately."
How did that feel hearing you'd had diabetes for years?
Like everything I thought I knew about myself was wrong. I kept saying, "But I eat healthy. I drink juice, not soda." And the doctor just looked at me and said, "Michael, juice is soda without the bubbles."
That must have been a devastating moment.
I felt like such an idiot. 15 years of thinking I was taking care of myself, and I was basically mainlining sugar twice a day. All those mornings feeling virtuous with my orange juice. I was slowly poisoning myself.
But the real shock was still coming. What did the ophthalmologist tell you?
She dilated my pupils and looked into my eyes for what felt like forever. Then she sat back, took off her glasses and said, "Mr. Johnson, you have moderate diabetic retinopathy. The blood vessels in both your retinas are damaged."
How did she explain what was happening?
She showed me these photos of my retinas on her computer screen, pointed to all these little red dots, microhemorrhages, she called them. "See these dark spots? That's bleeding inside your eye. And this swelling here? That's fluid leaking from damaged blood vessels."
What was going through your mind?
I kept staring at those photos thinking, this is inside my eyes. This is what I did to myself. She explained that every time my blood sugar spiked, it was like sending acid through those tiny vessels. Over and over, year after year.
Michael, let me explain to our listeners what was happening. When you drink fruit juice, your blood glucose shoots up rapidly. We call this a glycemic spike. In response, your body produces proteins called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These literally stick to the walls of your blood vessels and cause inflammation.
The doctor used this analogy that really hit me. She said, "Imagine your blood vessels are garden hoses, and you've been running sugar syrup through them for 15 years. Eventually, they get sticky, clogged, and start to leak."
That's exactly right. And the blood vessels in your retina are among the smallest in your body. They're incredibly delicate. They can't handle that constant assault of sugar.
Then she asked me about my diet. When I told her about the juice, she literally put her head in her hands. She said, "Mr. Johnson, a glass of orange juice has almost as much sugar as a can of Coke. But Coke doesn't pretend to be healthy."
That's a crucial point. When you eat an actual orange, the fiber acts like a time-release mechanism. It slows down how quickly that sugar enters your bloodstream. But when you juice that orange, you remove all the protection and deliver a concentrated hit of sugar straight to your system.
She showed me the numbers. My morning glass of orange juice, 21 grams of sugar. My afternoon apple juice, 24 grams. She said, You were consuming 45 grams of liquid sugar daily. That's like eating 11 teaspoons of pure sugar twice a day for 15 years.
And what makes it worse is the speed. When you drink juice, your blood sugar can spike to diabetic levels within 30 minutes, even in healthy people.
The ophthalmologist pulled up this chart showing my A1C levels over the past 5 years. They'd been creeping up slowly, 6.1, then 6.8, then 7.4. My primary care doctor mentioned it, but always said, let's keep an eye on it. Nobody connected it to the juice.
This is what frustrates me about our healthcare system. We treat numbers instead of looking at daily habits. Your doctor saw rising blood sugar, but never asked about that glass of juice at breakfast.
Right, and I was so proud of that juice. I'd brag to my coworkers, at least I'm not drinking coffee with cream and sugar like you guys. Meanwhile, I was having more sugar before 9 a.m. than they were having all day.
Michael, when you learned all this, how did it change your relationship with food?
Everything I thought I knew was wrong. Healthy foods weren't healthy. Natural didn't mean safe. I realized I'd been trusting marketing instead of science for 15 years.
And that realization was about to lead to the hardest decision of your life.
The ophthalmologist was very direct. She said, if you want to keep your sight, you need to stop drinking juice today. Not next week, not after you finish what's in your fridge. Today.
How did that feel?
Terrifying. Juice wasn't just a drink for me, it was my identity as a healthy person. It was my morning ritual, my afternoon pick-me-up. I remember driving home thinking, what am I going to drink? Water.
But you did stop.
That very day. I went home, told Carol everything, and we poured 4 bottles of juice down the drain. Expensive stuff, too, probably $60 worth. But watching it swirl down the sink felt like liberation, I guess.
What did you replace it with?
Water. Plain water. And you know what? The first week was brutal. I had headaches, felt foggy, couldn't concentrate. I didn't realize I was going through sugar withdrawal.
That's very real. Your brain had become accustomed to those regular glucose spikes. When you removed them, it had to readjust.
By the second week, something incredible happened. I stopped crashing in the afternoons. For 15 years, I thought that 3 p.m. energy dip was just normal aging. Turns out it was my blood sugar plummeting after the morning juice spike.
What other changes did you notice?
I wasn't constantly thirsty anymore. I stopped getting up multiple times at night. But the biggest change was my vision stability. The floaters were still there, but they weren't getting worse.
Let me explain what was happening in Michael's body. When he stopped the juice, his blood glucose levels stabilized. This reduced the inflammatory response that was damaging his retinal blood vessels. Think of it like finally stopping the assault on his eyes.
My doctor had me check my blood sugar multiple times a day for the first month. Before stopping juice, my morning reading was usually around 160. After 2 weeks without juice, it was consistently under 110.
That's a dramatic improvement. And what did this mean for your retinopathy?
At my 3-month follow-up, the ophthalmologist said the bleeding had stopped. The damage that was already there wasn't going away, but no new damage was occurring. She said, "You've put the brakes on this disease."
Michael, I want our listeners to understand how significant this is. Studies show that for every 1% reduction in A1C levels, diabetic retinopathy risk decreases by 35%. By eliminating juice, Michael didn't just stop the progression, he dramatically reduced his risk of future complications.
But honestly, the hardest part wasn't the physical withdrawal, it was the mental shift. I had to grieve the loss of something I thought was keeping me healthy.
How did you handle social situations? The morning meetings with pastries and orange juice?
I started bringing my own water bottle everywhere. People would ask, "Just water?" And I'd say, "Doctor's orders." Most people respected that, but some kept pushing. "Come on, it's just juice, live a little."
How did you respond to that pressure?
I learned to say, "I'm protecting my eyesight." That usually stopped the conversation. It's hard to argue with someone trying to avoid blindness.
What advice would you give to someone who's drinking juice every day but hasn't seen the consequences yet?
Check your blood sugar 2 hours after drinking juice, just once. See what it does to your body. If it spikes above 140, you're in the danger zone even if you're not diabetic yet.
But Michael, even with these positive changes, you were about to face your biggest challenge yet.
3 months after stopping juice, my daughter invited us to her Sunday brunch. She'd made fresh orange juice from oranges in her backyard. She was so proud, kept saying, "Dad, you have to try this. It's nothing like store-bought."
How did that feel?
Like I was being asked to choose between my daughter's feelings and my eyesight. She didn't understand why I was being so extreme about juice. To her, it was just fresh fruit from her own tree.
What did you do?
I explained about my eyes, showed her the retinal photos on my phone, but she said, "Dad, this is different. This is natural. Fresh squeezed. Surely one glass won't hurt?"
And that's the challenge, isn't it? People think natural or homemade somehow changes the biology.
Exactly. Even Carol was looking at me like I was being ridiculous. It was just one glass from our daughter on a special occasion. The social pressure was intense.
How did you handle it?
I took a deep breath and said, "Honey, that orange juice has the same amount of sugar whether it comes from your tree or a factory. My eyes can't tell the difference." Then I asked if she had any whole oranges I could eat instead.
That must have been uncomfortable.
Very. She was hurt. She said, "You're taking this health thing too far, Dad." But I realized something in that moment. Protecting my health sometimes means disappointing people I love.
That's such an important insight. We often prioritize social comfort over our own well-being.
The turning point came when I showed her my blood glucose meter. I said, "Let's test this theory." I ate one of her oranges and we checked my blood sugar. Then I asked her to drink a glass of the juice and let me test hers.
What happened?
After the whole orange, my blood sugar went up 20 points. After her glass of juice, hers spiked 60 points. She's not even diabetic and it still hit 165. She stared at that meter and said, "Dad, I had no idea."
That demonstration changed everything.
From that day forward, she became my biggest supporter. She started reading labels, asking questions about sugar content. She even planted a vegetable garden instead of expanding her orange grove.
But the social challenges didn't end there.
Number office parties, family gatherings, restaurants automatically bringing juice with brunch. I had to learn to be the guy who always says no. And you know what? After a while, people stopped offering. They started respecting my boundaries.
6 months after that brunch, something remarkable happened.
My ophthalmologist called me personally. She said, "Michael, I need to see you in my office. I want to show you something." I thought the worst, that the retinopathy was progressing again.
But it wasn't bad news.
She showed me side-by-side photos of my retinas from 6 months ago versus now. Some of the smaller hemorrhages had actually resolved. She said, "In 20 years of practice, I rarely see this kind of stabilization without medication. What you did by stopping juice probably saved your sight."
How did that make you feel?
Vindicated, but also incredibly sad. I kept thinking about all those mornings, all those years of thinking I was being healthy. If I had known what I know now.
Michael, you can't live in the past. What matters is what you do with this knowledge now.
That's exactly what Carol said, and you know what? I've become that guy who tells people about juice. My co-workers call me the juice police now.
How do they react?
Mixed responses. Some people listen, especially when they see my before and after retinal photos. Others get defensive. One guy said, "Michael, you're being paranoid. It's just orange juice." I told him, that's exactly what I used to think.
What's the most common reaction?
Disbelief. People say, "But juice is healthy. It has vitamins." I tell them, "So does candy with added vitamins. That doesn't make it good for you."
For our listeners who might be drinking juice regularly, what would you want them to know?
Start paying attention to how you feel after drinking juice. Do you get an energy boost followed by a crash? Do you feel thirsty again quickly? Are you tired in the afternoons? Your body is trying to tell you something.
Those are excellent warning signs. What about people who say they can't give up their morning juice?
I get it, I really do. But I'd ask them this. Is that glass of juice worth potentially losing your vision? Because that's the choice. Maybe not today, maybe not next year, but eventually.
What would you say to someone who's just been diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy?
Stop the juice today. Right now. Don't finish the bottle. Don't wait until Monday. Don't gradually reduce it. Just stop. Your eyes are more important than any drink.
And for people who think they're healthy because they're not overweight or don't have obvious symptoms?
I was 180 pounds, exercised regularly, and thought I was the picture of health. Diabetes doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you look healthy on the outside.
Michael, what's your morning routine now?
Water with lemon, a whole orange if I want fruit, and coffee. Simple. And you know what? I have more energy now at 59 than I did at 45.
Any final message for someone listening who might be reaching for a glass of juice tomorrow morning?
Ask yourself, are you drinking this because you enjoy it or because you think it's healthy? If it's the second reason, please reconsider. Don't wait for floating spots in your vision to make the change I should have made 15 years ago.
Don't let the word healthy on a label convince you to harm your body. Your eyes and your future self will thank you for making the change today.